Howdy everyone. Continuing to try to figure out how to get this canopy trim to fit. One of the things that Vans tells you to do is to mark a center line down the length of the canopy. And I see what they're trying to do, but I'm not sure how on the planet Earth you're supposed to find a center line on this canopy. From what I can gather, when the canopy is made, it's just a flat piece of plastic. It's probably not cut exactly perfect. It's probably not exactly square. It's more than likely thrown in the jig, had a kind of cattywampus. It's clamped, and then they form it. So you really can't use the edges as a guide, just to measure from one edge all the way around to the other edge, divide it by 2, and that's the center of the canopy. I don't recommend that because, like I said, the canopy shape is correct, but you've got these edge pieces, these flange areas that were clamped somehow while this was being formed. And I can show you some of mine, the cutoffs that I had cut, but mine were like all over the place, obviously, because they're just being held while this is being formed and squeezed into shape. So anyway, here's what I'm choosing to do. Like I said, I've already cut the majority of those, the clamping flange area. They were all wavy and cattywampus. I cut all that nonsense off. Basically what I'm doing is this. I put the canopy on the plane, and I literally stand in the front, and I'll grab this forward edge here, and I'll grab the forward edge on the other side. I'll pick the canopy up a little bit, and then I'll just kind of shake it. I'll just kind of pick it up, take the weight off of it a little bit, and just kind of roll it around on the fuselage. And it kind of takes a natural set. It kind of finds where it wants to lay. And the same thing with the back. I found out what works best for me. I don't grab the back and shuffle it around. What I do is I'll purposely push the canopy off center. And then only grabbing the front edge, I'll pick it up and just kind of shimmy it back and forth. And you can kind of feel the back half of the canopy will kind of find where it wants to lay. And then you'll also feel that in the front as you shimmy it around. You'll kind of feel where it wants to sit naturally on the fuselage. At that point, using this row of rivets here, I continued that run up about 8, 9, 10 inches, marked the line on the front of the canopy. And I did the same thing on the back. Using this run of rivets, I just continued that line up onto the canopy again about 6, 8 inches. And then I did the same thing. I grabbed the canopy and I purposely moved it off center. I moved the back half up this way, and I grabbed the front half and pull it down just to purposely disrupt the canopy. And then I did the same thing over again. I walk up front, I grab the front at each side, I pick it up a little bit, and I'll just kind of rock it back and forth and shimmy it, and you can almost watch the back find its way back to where it wants to be. The front will kind of find its way back to where it wants to be. And then at that point, I came back and checked, and my lines, once again, lined up on the front, and the one in the back also lined up here. And that happened 2 or 3 times just naturally. So, and then when you just visually look at it, when you stand in the front, of course, I don't have a lot of room. I'd like to stand back a heck of a lot further, but I can't. But if you just kind of look at how this front cowling, not a cowling, but this front skin area sits, and then you just kind of look up over the canopy, you can see the canopy sits really well in relation to this plane. And the same thing from the back when you stand at the tail. Of course, there again, I wish I had more room to stand a lot further back, but when you look down this flat plane of the tail onto the canopy. You can see the canopy sits nice. It doesn't look like it's off kiltered one way or the other. So I'm going to continue to do that. I'm just going to continue to kind of fuss with it and let it settle out where it wants to be, check my reference lines, and then just kind of walk around the fuselage and look at how it sits. Just look at how it sits in this corner here in relation to the other corner. You know, does it sit up really high on this side and it's really tight on the other side? Just kind of look through it, see how it's trying to sit in relation to the roll bar. See how the edges are starting to sit in this plane, just to get an idea, because I got a lot more trimming to do. So I'm going to continue to do that. I'm basically just going to shuffle it around and see if it continuously comes back to this natural set with my lines lined up, and then just visually look at it through this plane, look at it from the back coming forward like I just did, and just kind of get a feel for where it wants to be. And then very roughly, I'm going to start laying out my lines across here, across the bottom. I'll start laying out this line up through here and start trimming this back and go from there. All right, once again, my battery is starting to fail, so I'm going to have to recharge this thing. While it's recharging, I'm going to do some more fitting and cutting. Talk to you later. Howdy everyone. All right, with the canopy back up on the workbench, you can see that I've done some more initial trimming. I've done more of the back area here. This is more in line with the shape of the fuselage. And then the larger front flange area here that was sticking out, I went ahead and trimmed that back along the front. Now, these are all just vague guesstimates. I mean, I haven't done anything to make sure that this side is cut the same as the other side. I literally just freehand everything at this point by hand. So nothing is even close at this point, but I'm getting closer, which is good. So like I had said before, I basically just put the canopy on the fuselage, offset it, pick it up by the front a little bit and shimmy it and let it just kind of nest itself into place. At that point, I had marked a reference line on the canopy front, which fell in line with this row of rivets. So I just extended this line up onto the canopy after I had let it nest into place. I had done the same thing in the back. Using this row of rivets, I drew a line, and then I transferred that line from the fuselage on up to the canopy. Since then, I've taken this line here, and I've extended it up onto the roll bar to give me a center line, because eventually this is the split line here. So the canopy and the back windshield, if you want to call it that, the back window, they get separated. And I wanted reference lines after they're separated so I can get them lined back up with each other. And you can see here is the reference line on the back of the canopy. So now that I've got the canopy back off of the airplane, I went ahead and I've attached this back line to the front line, which you can maybe see here. I went ahead and drew a line all the way across the canopy connecting this back line to the front. The only reason why I did that is because, like I said, eventually this is going to get split somewhere in here, and I wanted to have a line drawn so after they're split and I put them back on the airplane, I can compare this back line with the fuselage line, this forward line of the back window, I can compare it to the back line of the canopy, and then the forward canopy line to the forward fuselage. I've also laid out this line here. When you look at the instructions, Van says that from the forward edge of this skin, 1.75 inches back from the forward edge is roughly where the windshield should come down. Now, I don't think there's a whole lot of room here. 1.75 inches doesn't seem to be a whole heck of a lot of room to have the window stop, and then you have to make up your fairing somehow to fit in here. So I may try to hooch this back a little bit to give me more workable area in here, but I'm not there yet. I just wanted to get the reference line in place. So like I said before, of course, the canopy is clamped and in position. It's clamped in position. I went ahead and made sure that these faces are as close to one another as I can get them. I separated the tape here just because this splice plate was inside of this frame and it needs to be on the outside, so ultimately I can transfer the holes on this side here. So in order to do that, I had to split the tape and unclamp the canopy, pull this plate out, and put it in the position you see here. So that's been done, and everything is clamped back into place, and I rechecked all of the critical elements of having the canopy frame back in place. So the frame is in place. I've got my reference marks marked. And what I've decided to do, I pulled the tape off of the outside of the canopy. I'm going to flip the canopy upside down on the floor. I'm going to pull this inside tape off. And the reason is because when it's on the fuselage, I need to be able to see this. Obviously, my side skins are long gone for that very reason. I need to be able to see where the canopy sits in relation to where it's actually going to get screwed into place. With the tape there, I can't. So I got to remove the tape. Once I have the tape removed, I'll put the canopy back up on here, and then I'll decide what to do next. And it is interesting. I will say that the one time after doing this trim, I put the canopy on and shimmied it to let it nest, and the lines came out in the same location, front and back. So I was happy about that. So yeah, I'm going to take the tape off, put the canopy back up on here, and see what, if anything, I need to trim next. Now, the van's instructions tell you not to get carried away with trimming it initially, because you need to split it first. And then you can do all your final trim, because once you split it, it will rest easier on the roll bar. Both the front canopy and the back window will rest along this roll bar nicer once it's split into two pieces. So you're not supposed to get carried away with trimming all of this stuff. The way that it looks right now and the way that it sits right now, this may be as far as I go. I may go ahead and mark it for the split right now and then worry about trimming it later. But I do want to get it back up on the fuselage one more time just to make sure that I don't need to do anything else. So the next cut might be the split cut, but we'll see. All right, talk to you guys later.